I think the lighting is okay, and a good afternoon, a good morning, a good evening, whatever time you're able to watch this, whether it's at the moment or a little later on. I certainly appreciate a decent amount of views lately. So thank you very much for all of that. I'm Dave LaMont. It is Friday, the 22nd of July, the night after the Doobie Brothers concert. And I apologize that my voice is a little out of whack. Try to sing along with these guys. It happens. But when it starts to get, if it really drops off, I'll just stop it. There's no point in beating you up or myself with my voice. But this is going to be about last night's Doobie Brothers show, about 98% of it. We're at a weird spot in sports where there's still too much talk about live golf, which I'm tired of. The only way the Miami Marlins ever seem to get attention in this town is if things are going poorly, and they couldn't go any poorly than they are. They haven't scored a run in literally days. I don't mean like a few innings. I mean days. And now they're getting attention. It's just how it works around here. That franchise is always going to have that cloud over its head about what happened, even under different ownership. Not even the people who run the team now, with the trading away and the greatness and championships followed by just sheer misery. Folks here have not forgotten that. Now, not everybody is sore, but a lot of people are. So it just tends to, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I have a cynical view of it myself, naturally being kind of cynical. But I just think that as soon as anything goes wrong, people are eager to jump in on them. More, I think, than any other franchise. More than the Panthers or the Heat, more than the Dolphins, and the Dolphins are still the kings around here, no matter what the other teams do, but more than the University of Miami. They certainly have plenty of their critics as well. And by the way, before I talk about last night's Doobie show, the death of the turnover chain is a logical step for Mario Cristobal and this new edition era of Miami football he's trying to promote. The turnover chain was a fabulous idea. It was. It shook college football and turned schools into imitators, the likes of which were some of them clever. I remember doing a Boise State game, and they brought the turnover throne with them all the way to Troy, Alabama. The throne. There was club turnover where they had a little rope. It was a bowl game. I can't remember who did it. There were, planks of wood. The worst was the turnover backpack by Florida State, which is just the dumbest thing ever. And that should have been almost, if the NCAA had any power at all in college football, they should have gone, okay, that's all. We're not doing any more of these. But the chain was the original, and it was the best. And but you gotta be good to talk like that and to act like that. And we know that Miami's been nothing but very average lately. So what's the point? It's time to move on. It was tiring. It was great while it lasted, and it really was cool. But all of it, all of it needs to go away. Not just but all the imitators got to go. We've had that little phase. It was fun. Then it got tiring. And then it got exhausting, and then it just was like, okay, just don't do it anymore. Like if you're down 2 or 3 scores and you intercept the pass or recover a fumble, do you really want the ritual of celebrating that when you're getting your butt kicked? I think we all know the answer to that. All right, now the good stuff. I have been on the Doobie Brothers long train running, if you'll forgive me, since the 70s, like a lot of you. And certainly based on the audience that last night, like a lot of the people that went to that show at the I Think Amphitheater in West Palm Beach near the airport. I'm going back to when I was a teenager, when they were popular. I can remember when Black Water came out, back in a day when you only had pretty much AM radio in your car. And I'm trying to think, I could look it up real fast. I should have, before I started to do this, what year that came out. And of course, I will look and see what year it is. But I can remember And of course, when you put it Blackwater, naturally, it gives you all sorts of other things instead of Doobie Brothers. But the point is, it came out in the mid 70s. I don't remember if I was driving or a passenger, maybe too young to drive. And hearing that song on every station. Let's go to the, boom, there it is again. There it is again. The only time I can remember that was when John Mellencamp dropped Jack and Diane. And I remember driving to Disney with some friends, and it was on every station that we tuned into. Now, this is going back a ways, of course, before all the different options we have available. There were no podcasts. So it's been a long time. And I remember seeing them opening as an opening act, like a triple bill at Miami Baseball Stadium with Boston at the top of the bill and the Doobies underneath them. And the lead singers were Michael McDonald and Patrick Simmons, Tom Johnston, the guy who gave us Listen to the Music and China Grove. And, that guy was out. He had health issues. He got away. So the next 2 to 3 times I see them in different locations in South Florida, it's always Michael McDonald. Now, we all know there's a big difference between Michael McDonald's hits and Tom Johnston's hits, besides their voices, but the sound changed. And as a younger person who wanted straight ahead Doobie, Northern California bar band, biker band, rock and roll, I resented that a little bit and didn't really recognize, with one exception, He Keeps You Running is just ridiculously great song that he did. But yeah, it was weird. And then a good while passed before I saw the Doobies again. They kind of dropped out for a bit too. Michael McDonald did some solo stuff and was very successful at it. And he's the greatest male backup singer of all time. And I'll fight you on that one. You look at his history. He's been Steely Dan alone, what he did with them. But they came back and finally, my buddy Paul Castronovo and I got to see them with Tom Johnston, but not Michael McDonald, at Sunfest in West Palm. I'd say 6 or 7 years ago. It's been a while. And they were great. They were. They're always good. Always. Well, this 50th anniversary tour, postponed 2 years, and we all know why, they're all together. It's now Michael McDonald 2. So now you can get you can get both flavors of the Doobies and hit after hit after hit. Some new material from their album Liberté, which, by the way, was quite good and very Doobie Brothers-esque. So you didn't have to worry about, oh, God, they're going to experiment with a new sound. No, they're not. They're not stupid. And it was wonderful. Now, you only have 2 original Doobies up there. That's Johnston and Patrick Simmons, Patrick with the long hair and the guitar. And he sang, and he has sung. They really have 3 lead singers because they all trade off. And 3 lead guitarists with John McPhee, who's a multi-instrumentalist. And he came along. He is almost an original. When Jeff Baxter left the band, the skunk, the guy with the mustache, who also played in Steely Dan, McPhee moved in. That's late 70s. So he's practically an original Doobie Brother. And Michael McDonald's been in and out with them. So getting to see, this is why this was special to me and why I really wanted to go. And I know they had one postponement. We know. Then we had another one because we had some tropical weather coming in. And also, it turns out, they had some people in their party, and they didn't say who specifically. Could have been crew, could have been in the band, tested positive for COVID. This was, so the June dates, partly because of the crap weather, partly because of the crap COVID tests, it was probably both. The weather was going to be a problem because it was heavy, heavy rain. It would have been really a miserable scene for everybody, even though the place is covered. But there's an area uncovered where people can sit on a lawn that slopes. If you're looking up at it, they look down on it's not the greatest in the world. I've sat up there before. You're pretty much watching the concert on screens. But anyway, now we finally get to last night. The weather cooperates. It's hot and humid, but that's what we are. And the concert was phenomenal. I can tell you, and maybe because I'm paying more attention and noticing more things as I age, but I think it's the best they've ever sounded. Now, how is this possible, you ask? At their age, having played a concert the night before in the Tampa area, 3.5-hour drive away, how they could be that, or actually a little less for them, they can be that great because you know why? They're polished professionals and they know what to do and they know their material They know they're going to play the hits. They threw in some new songs, a couple of deeper cuts. Now, South City Midnight Lady to me isn't a deep cut. It's like the song that I think every Doobie fan that's been with him forever knows and loves, even though it was not really a big radio hit that I can recall. Not like a China Grove or Listen to the Music or the other, Taking It to the Streets, et cetera, and so forth. But I couldn't believe how great they sounded vocally. And then I started realizing, they've always been kind of a band where harmony singing was really important. It wasn't just, catchy 3-chord guitar and some good soloing and then Michael McDonald doing his thing. The vocal harmonies on these songs are phenomenal. And when you can pull it off live, and you hear all the time now, there's bands that are undergoing a lot of criticism, or even not just older bands, but even younger performers. Oh, they're lip syncing, or they don't, I'm telling you, these guys do it. They do it live and they do it the right way. You can't lip sync the additional stuff they sing. And the sound was very good. And outdoor sound sometimes, can be spotty, but it was great. And Michael McDonald in his 70s sounds like Michael McDonald in his 30s, which is almost impossible to pull off. Whatever he does to take care of himself, especially after performing the night before, and he's not just half-assing his way through these songs, he's putting everything he has into singing these songs. And it really was something to see. It was inspirational to me as much as it was thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyable. And the whole night was really a high. Once you get there, you got to get there first. And I have some problems getting in there, but once you're in, you're in. And, then you go take it and have a good time. It was a great show from moment one to moment end. And to hear those songs and realize, this is their 52nd year as a band. All right. And there are other bands who have this similar longevity, but very few can sit there. And they played 2 new songs in a row. And Tom Johnson said, all right, we're going to play one more song. It's called Don't Mess With Me, which was a great song, by the way. And he said, we'll return to our regularly scheduled programming. And everybody knows what that means. And then it just pours out. Boom, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom. And this isn't a show that relies on exploding pyrotechnics and all this other stuff. It's just solid music. Yeah, they had a neat setup of screens in the back, but it's about the performances, and it's about getting the audience involved. And at the end, the audience is singing back, and this is partly where I picked up this huskier sounding than normal voice. But it was just, in a way, reassuring. It was thrilling. It was fun. A concert at its best, and I've been to hundreds, and you can tell that this means as much to me as if we were talking about sports right now. In my life, and I don't know whether it's because as a kid I was denied a chance when I was living at home with my mom and dad. I was a teenager and I started to awaken to classic rock. It wasn't called classic rock then, but rock music. And the one that really stung was when Peter Frampton drops this historic live album, Frampton Comes Alive, and he's going to play down in Miami, and I can't go. My parents won't let me go. Because all they think about are a bunch of stoners running around, injecting drugs and smoking and doing all sorts of stuff that you're not supposed to do. And they didn't want me to do. And frankly, I didn't want to do either. I just wanted to see Peter Frampton. And I remembered that. And obviously it still burns in the back of my brain, just a tiny part of my lobe, one of my lobes. And it's just always been important to be able to go to these shows. When I started going in the mid to late 70s, I just didn't stop. I mean, I hit the floor all the way down on that pedal and went to as many shows as I could go to whatever bands were out there. And, I was very lucky. I haven't seen every great band, but I've come pretty damn close. But regardless of the venue, even occasionally going out of town, like a couple of months ago, Joe Jackson in Minneapolis, who I just fell in love with his performing and went back and saw him again here in Fort Lauderdale. Like, why have I not gone to see this guy before? With the Doobies, I knew what I was getting. It's not like this was a mysterious concert. We know what we're getting, but the delivery of it was so satisfying. And a great concert, a truly, truly great concert, takes you so far away from anything else that's going on in your life that you're blacked out. And yes, I texted a couple of friends who I know care and sent them a few photos, which I couldn't get great photos, but you do the best you can. I don't record songs because it's going to sound like hell. And I'm too far back anyway. You know, we were undercover, but we weren't, you know, I mean, I knew who everybody was, but I just, you know, I don't get that. I guess if you want to record a few seconds just to say you were there, or maybe you're really digging it, that's fine. And there are plenty of videos on YouTube of people who get decent audio recording, but that's got to be exhausting. So I'm okay with people who do that, you know, post on social, that's fine. But a great concert just wipes all that. You don't think of anything else. And I remember when I went to see the Foo Fighters with Rob, the producer, at that same venue. This has to be 2018. And it was that kind of night. It was a night where, and I remember that it was a really pretty night too. Like you looked up and it's an outdoor, so you could see the sky and it was stars. And I think we had a good moon. And you thought, God, is there any other place on this planet that I would rather be at? And the answer was a flat no. This is the best place to be on earth. And when you're in a venue and you have that same feeling, that's what a concert can do for you. It's what it does for me. If it's a great show, like, and I've been very fortunate, every one of the last shows I've been to, starting with Green Day last year and then a couple of Joe Jackson shows and now this one, and I've got Roger Waters coming up next month, and I've already seen some video on that. It just gave me chills. So that's going to be unbelievable. You want to be taken away. That's the experience. You want to hear your favorites, of course, and they played all my favorites except for Another Park, Another Sunday. Do love that song. Very doobie, but that's okay. It's their set list. And the new material was just fine. And I'm happy to say the audience was good too. And it always worries me. I've already talked about how much I can't stand audiences. And I got to say, once everybody figured out this was a concert and you should try to find your seat as soon as it starts, we were fine. So now I will say this, getting there is partly why I'm hoarse, because not being the most patient fellow in the world, it can be a little aggravating. And we had to cut it a little closer than we'd like. But, you know, my wife has a real job and got home as early as she could. And then we make a drive. It's about an hour drive, 50 to an hour normal. Well, as you get closer to the venue, normal goes out the window. I have one suggestion for either the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office or the people who run the venue. And this might be a police issue or a sheriff's office issue. Perhaps on the main road, when you turn right to get onto the road to the venue, that you could have more than one lane. Because what happens is you've got all this volume coming off the turnpike. And there are some people who have nothing to do with this concert. You're maybe trying to get home or trying to get somewhere else, and they're caught in it. And now you go like this. Just all of a sudden you're like, now I am literally this close to a woman who refuses to let me in. And I have to get in this one lane only. So that may be partly why I'm a little hoarse too. Maybe. She was just would not give in. So, I mean, what do? You got to eat it, right? But that would be one suggestion that I would offer them. I think, especially when you get to that last half hour before the scheduled showtime. But not everybody is a bad person. I'll give you a very quick Good Samaritan story that happened last night. So my wife buys us a little bit of food. She buys herself a beer. I took a water. So I said, you know what? It's almost time. Going to hit the little men's room. So I come out of the men's room and I am walking and I'm like, oh man, I better start moving. And I hit an area where I'm almost to the seats. And she goes, can you pick me up another beer? I spilled mine. All right. So I go back. Now I'm getting a little concerned. I don't like to miss a note, by the way. So you know. That's where I am as a concert goer. I want to be there for that opening number. So I go to back to where we bought the beer. I want to get you a can of Kona, which is good beer, by the way. And there's not a long line, thankfully, but there's a woman in front who doesn't seem to understand ordering. I'm like, okay. There's a guy next to me. There's multiple people, lines to choose from. I picked the wrong one. This woman just does not get the concept of ordering in public. It happens. So the lane next to me pops open, and the gentleman standing there says, please go ahead. You live in South Florida? And you just did that for me? That's followed up by, I tell the lady, yeah, hi, it's the can of Kona. They don't sell bottles here for obvious reasons. My wife spilled hers. And I didn't show her the text. So she brings back the can of Kona. I peel out a $20 bill to pay. It was like $15 for it. And she goes, no, don't worry about it. 2 Good Samaritan gestures within about 30 seconds of each other. Stunning. We're not all bad after all. And then as I'm making my way back to the seat, I hear piano. So I know Michael McDonald's out there, and, we're off and running. But just a spectacular evening. And you know what? Let me address one more thing about the bands that we love getting old, because it's inevitable. You run down the list of musicians that my era loves, and these guys are all in their 70s. Mick Jagger's about to turn 79. And you know what I find about Mick Jagger? And there was an article, unfortunately, it was buried behind a paywall, and I was too cheap to spend £1 when I was overseas in Ireland. But it was an article in one of the papers over there. It talked about, allegedly talked about, the headline was, we should be inspired by someone like this. And you know what? I agree. You've seen Mick perform. Still, go find stuff of their current tour. 70, about to turn 79, had a heart stent put in a few years ago, and within 2 weeks was rehearsing and dancing and all this other stuff, because that's what he does. And I agree with that. I find these bands, instead of being like wheezing to the finish line, I find that inspiring. I now, based on what I was told, wished I'd made more of an effort to see The Who back in April, a band I really like, but I didn't go. And I could have. And I think and I look at it as a positive. That was an inspiring show last night. These guys aren't kids, but they gave it everything they had. And they don't have to. Now, not all these bands are aging well. I've heard nothing but horrible things about Bon Jovi's voice. He's actually apparently sounds like this, but he's around the same age as me. There's all sorts of accusations about, Kiss lip syncing and things like that. And it's terrible to think that our heroes are slowing down, but some of them are going out or continuing in great form. And the Doobie Brothers pulled that off last night without a flaw. So I hope you were there and enjoyed the show. If you don't live in the area and you have an opportunity to see them, if they are passing through, make an effort. If you're a fan, make an effort to go. I know concert prices are scary. These tickets were a Mother's Day gift, so I did spend a little bit. I can't afford Bruce Springsteen. The people who are doing the resales on these tickets, and it's a whole mess, and it's not even worth getting into. But it's thousands of dollars. Like McCartney was $1,000, Billy Joel was about $1,000. I can't do that. And I've seen all of them. I never saw McCartney, and I probably never will now. But Bruce, I've seen at least. Billy Joel, I've seen a bunch, so that's cool. But yeah, it would be nice if we didn't have to worry about that. And by the way, he'll sell the damn place out, and good for him. He's a worthy artist to sell out a place. But I bet even he might be a little pissed about the concert ticket prices. Although then again, most of that goes into his pocket and the pockets of the band, so maybe he's not. But yeah, but he'll put on a great show. He always does. And I take inspiration from that. As I get older and age with these bands, and most of these bands are about 10 years ahead of me in age, maybe more. I think it's cool. I think it's cool that Robert Plant has reinvented himself. Instead of just going up there and singing the same old stuff, he decided, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go do something different that I want to do. I'm Robert Plant. I can do what I want. He could make money that I don't think could be printed fast enough if he said to Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones, let's grab Jason Bonham and let's go do Led Zeppelin 40 shows around the world. Stadiums, they would fill frickin' stadiums from here to Kashmir and make, I mean, literally, they would have to have a separate airplane that does nothing but print money and send it out the engines. Don't do it. Don't want to do it. Okay. That's integrity. And I admire that. Is it frustrating as a fan? Sure. But that's okay. He's doing something that he finds fresh and interesting. I can respect that very much. I can also respect doing what the Doobies do. We know what you're here for. You'll get them. And that's what they do. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you see them if you don't on this now 52nd anniversary tour. 52. For a little biker bar band from Northern California. Sold out house last night. Incredible. Anyway, thanks. Again, my apologies for the voice quality. Got to be a little nicer in traffic, I guess. Have a great weekend. I'll see you.